Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video, where today we'll be looking at a couple of different revenge stories from a couple of different subreddits. Our first story is from r/ProRevenge and was submitted by user/JessieDJD. It's been a few years now, and the only other person who knows about this passed away last month, so here it goes. First, I'm a casino dealer and have been for over 15 years. Dealers take a lot of abuse from players. I've been insulted, degraded, and even followed after work, but it's nothing I couldn't handle. The general rule for players' conduct in most casinos is as long as the player's betting enough money, they can do and say whatever they want. This is where we meet Jay. This guy was a piece of trash. He would cuss the dealers out, scream at them every hand, throw his cards. The first time I dealt to him, I tried telling him not to throw his cards at me when my floor stopped me and told me to never correct him and just deal with it. Even when he was winning, he would be a horrible butt. And what was worse was the lady that would come with him every week. She looked like a working girl, and the whole time she would sit there, silent, just watching as he went off on the dealers. Every once in a while, when he calmed down, he would give her a kiss, and when she left the table to use the bathroom, he would make very obscene comments about what he was going to do with her in the hotel after he cashed out. He was horrible, and I had to see him every Wednesday for years. Now, normally, whenever I have a player like this, I look at their player's card, write down their name, and look them up online to see who they are and what they do for a living. The problem here was no one knew his name. He only ever wanted to be called Jay and didn't have a player's card. He never lost more than what was required to get his social security card, so he remained nameless for years. No one knew anything about him, not his profession or if he had kids. He wouldn't even talk about sports. He was a complete enigma. I made it a goal of mine to find out who this guy was, and after 2 years, I finally got my chance thanks to an unlikely encounter. Another player, Bob, who I knew, had come to my game while Jay was playing. He sat down in the last seat, and while waiting to get in the game, he started chatting about the guy's new house. He knew I bought a house recently, so we were discussing projects we were planning on doing. When he mentioned he wanted to put a pool in his backyard, that's when Jay, in the nicest voice I've ever heard him speak, said, "Call me tomorrow and I'll give you a quote," and handed him his business card. Now Bob was very polite and took the card, but I could tell he had no intentions of calling. That's when the most miraculous of moments happened. They had both left the table at the same time, and Bob had left the business card on the table. I get tapped off the game to go on break and quickly grab the card. I now have the guy's name, business email address, and his business address, which I first noticed because it's 2 hours away and there are 2 closer casinos to his business. That night, I scoured the internet for any information on this guy. I had no idea what I was planning at the time. I could try to mess with his business. Maybe email him pretending to be interested in his services and have him drive to some random house. Ideas kept going through my head until I found the big bombshell about this guy. He was married, but not to the girl I keep seeing at the casino. I found his wife's Facebook page and started going through her history. They looked like a normal, happy couple. After a while, I figured out what was going on. She owned some businesses in another state and would fly out every Wednesday morning to handle the businesses. And he would drive 2 hours to a casino away from home so no one would recognize him. This was very common in the industry, but the girl he was with? That was the big question. This is where the revenge comes in. I got his wife's email address off the internet. I had a friend of mine come into the casino and very discreetly take a picture of Jay every Wednesday for a month. He made sure to get both Jay and the woman he was with in every shot. The last Wednesday that pictures were taken, I waited till Jay was getting ready to leave. As he was exiting the casino, I emailed the pictures to his wife from a throwaway address. The next day, he came storming into the casino demanding to know who contacted his wife. He made a huge scene and was visually raging. He made a bunch of threats to sue the casino and all the employees. He got so heated, he told one of the pit bosses to F off or I'll kill you, which was enough to have him banned for life. Security had to detain him, and that was the last time we ever saw him. I kept tabs on his wife's Facebook. She made a post explaining to everyone the reason she was divorcing Jay, and everything I had suspected was confirmed. He was hiding money from his wife and using it to gamble and pay for the working girl's rent. The wife had mentioned my email and even posted a thank you to the person who unveiled the truth. I wish I knew what happened after that, but I never saw Jay again. He's barred from the casino, and the last time I looked up his business, it said it was closed. Chances are he's playing in some other casino, making someone else's day horrible. And the best part is, if Jay had not been a butthole, he would have never gotten into this situation. For all we know, he could still be going to this casino every Wednesday. Our next post is from r/PettyRevenge and was submitted by user/SpideyTingle. I was out for a leisurely cruise on my motorcycle on a road that looked down over a river. It's one of the nicest views in the area, so there are a lot of fancy houses on it, built in the 1940s and up. I came up on a guy who was driving 15 miles an hour below the speed limit in his fancy convertible. He would periodically slow down at the more picturesque locations. I stayed behind him for a while, but at some point, enough is enough. I went round him. It was on a double yellow, no passing here in the US, but he was nearly stopped. He did not like this one bit. He immediately sped up and got right on my rear wheel. Motorcyclists hate this. As if I slow down, he'll knock me over and then run me over. I cruised for a bit, but I'm not a fan of others endangering me for their entertainment, so I hatched a diabolical plan. About a quarter of a mile ahead was a giant sleeping policeman, a speed bump, that's there to keep people from speeding on this lovely road. I began speeding up, from 25, the speed limit, to 30, to 40, to 45. At this point, I'm well over the speed limit and he's still glued to my bumper. I came up to the speed bump and stood up and put my weight to the rear like I used to do when I raced dirt bikes. This allows my legs to soak up the big hit and stay in control, so I went over the speed bump easily and looked back. He didn't see it coming when it did. He slammed on the brakes, but all that did was force his front suspension to compress on the brakes, which is the last thing you want when hitting a large bump. His front end went airborne, then his rear end. The front slammed down and sparks shot out from the metal, slamming into the unforgiving pavement. His rear end did the same. I sped on laughing. I can only hope it broke his suspension or radiator. My friend has a saying that I like to use. Don't try to out-butthole me, I'm better than you at it. Wow, and after a flight like that, the rear end of his car is not the only rear end that will be damaged. I really hope he had a comfortable seat. And yet another post from r/PettyRevenge, this time submitted by user/Milhunt. The revenge itself is not mine, but I got some side benefits from it. My coworker, let's call him Bob, had previously worked at our company as a freelancer because his previous company was in the middle of going bankrupt badly and it was taking time to extract necessary papers from them. They had a preliminary verbal agreement that once I was hired and learned my ropes, he would get a week vacation regardless of how much time had passed since he was officially hired. Rules say that you have to be hired for 6 months before you can ask for vacation, unless you have small children, and even then, it's your employer's decision. Time passes, he's finally able to get hired properly. Then we have a quiet week coming, and he asks for vacation, because I'll definitely be able to manage that week on my own. Also, Bob already had to take a day off for medical reasons when he crashed from overwork, so he definitely needs some time off. But when he went to ask for vacation, our boss, a nice lady in general, completely forgot about our previous verbal agreement and said that he didn't work for required 6 months. Well, technically, she's right. 9 months of working for them as a freelancer do not count towards vacation days. Cue the petty revenge. It's normal to pull some overtime when you're at the important tasks or when you're at an awkward place in writing code and don't want to drop it and waste time trying to get back into the flow the next morning. Said overtime is not paid. Bob put his foot down, and now he doesn't do more than 15 minutes of overtime, and most of the time he leaves right on the dot. Since our office is about 10 minutes from the bus stop and it's often quite empty, I don't want to walk there in the dark, and so I leave with Bob, who either drives me out or walks me to the bus stop. Which means no overtime for either of us. Also, Bob brought to work some online courses that he planned to study on vacation, which means another hour from his work time because they're essential for our work. And of course, he shares them with me. So I too have a study hour during work time. And I, for one, cannot wait to hear the outcome to this story, so I'm hoping for an update. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed these few little stories, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for Reddit videos every second day. Also, if you have your own stories, make sure to leave them in the comments down below. But with that said, you guys, that's it from me. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.